Today we have Craig Scott, a VR tutor for hydrogen and welding course at Riverside College, and outstanding vocational school. And you're also an exile consultant. It's a very interesting episode. So thank you very much for coming on to the Polar Lamb Experience, where we're going to share, of course, your experience in innovation and education to other educators. As I mentioned just now, like, this episode is very interesting because I have no idea what hydrogen and welding has got to do with each other, and this has got to do with VR, like zero idea. So we're all going to learn a lot today from you, Craig. So thank you so much for coming.
You are very welcome. Thank you for asking me. I know that we've been messaging for a while,
yes,
and we've been trying to source this data. Both very busy people, and thank you for your patience. And I'm very excited to be joining you. I've had to listen to a watch to a few of your podcasts, and it's refreshing what you do. I especially like the quick fire round. I find the whole format that you do it really, really, really good.
Really appreciate your kind words. Honestly, I'm just starting. I'm one of those crazy guys we just talked about before we started the recording. I like to create new things and try it. You know, I'm quite a fearless person. I guess I don't mind, the judgments from others. So I'm like, who cares if I don't have this amazing 4K camera or the 500 quid mic. Just
brilliant.
Just start and spread the words, and because what really is important is what we talk about, and then later, when people are actually, a lot of people are interested in what we're talking about, then let's get an upgrade, and so then they can, they don't get their ears hurt while they're listening to us. But at the beginning, you just have to start. I think that's the best thing, right? So thank you so much for your kind words, and we'll go into the quick fire chat GPT questions. Another special thing is this is the first time I'm doing this at 9:50 p.m. Disturbing your weekend. Honestly, like, this is crazy. I haven't even had dinner yet because I live this late. So this is crazy. This is the latest podcast I've ever done. No, you're welcome. It's I've got 3 children, so this is my downtime. So thank you for making it so. They're sleeping already.
Yep.
We're not going to wake them up for a session as well. Anyways, let's get started. Okay, so quick 5 questions. Practical or theoretical class?
Do you know what? It used to be practical, but theoretical has just begun to edge it for me.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I'm definitely practical, like the theoretical side of things. 20% I can handle.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then the rest I just want to do. I just want to get my like this podcast. I just want to do it. I don't want to listen to the experts telling you how to do the thumbnails and whatnot.
Brilliant.
No, I just want to try and then see the feedback live with you and see if you're happy. I'm happy. If the listeners are happy as well, then we keep going, right? Trial and error. Anyway, pizza or burger?
Pizza, just about. I don't really like either.
Okay. Are you a very healthy guy then?
Less so nowadays, but not really. It's strange that everybody loves pizza, don't they? Everybody, but not me. If you're asking what I'd really like right now, let me think. It'd probably be a nice Chinese takeaway. Oof.
You like it? Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. We must share one day. Get to meet in person. I definitely do miss it. It's funny. I mean, I'm obviously Chinese, and I wouldn't say the Chinese in most of the takeaways. I like the ones you find in China.
Yeah. But
there's still that twist, the British twist to it, that makes it unique. Creatively unique, which I don't get here in Spain, for example, especially in the Canary Islands. Like there's not enough Chinese people, I guess, to even have Chinese restaurants. So.
Yeah.
I think okay, interesting. VR or AR?
VR, my friend. Yeah, I did yeah. Personal opinion.
Yeah. No, I'm VR as well. Yeah.
Oh right. Oh okay. Yeah. Just to elaborate. Yeah, I didn't realize we were allowed to elaborate on these answers. No. Interestingly, it's. I know this is obvious, but it's the immersive nature that of being in VR. I think it just takes you to a different place. AR, I've really come to appreciate over the last 2 years. Really impressed with everything that it does. But for me, that feeling, which we'll talk about, either you're a participant or you're teaching, and I'll talk about it all night. Engage is the platform that I've used a lot. Just being in there is just amazing. Something else. I just wish it had been around when I was younger. But yeah,
save it for later.
Yeah.
Beach or forest?
Forest.
Me too. I'm a forest guy, definitely. I grew up in the countryside in North Yorkshire, so.
Yeah, I'm really.
So both North Yorkshire and my Lake District, both on forests. Okay, this is the last one. Master on all languages or musical instruments. Which one do you prefer?
Oh, I'm a master of all languages.
Okay. How many languages do you speak?
That would be only the two, the English and Welsh. But yeah.
A lot more than most people. Most people that I know in the UK. Anyways.
Yeah. Good. That was good.
That's a good one. Thank you so much. That's the end of the quick fire round to get to know you a bit better, Craig. Thank you so much for that. Let's enter the main questions, which is what the listeners have come to listen to us about. The first question is always the same for all our guests. So, who is Craig, and what is his dream?
Great question. Okay. I'm a guy who's been very lucky in my life, in many areas. Found myself in the wonderful role that I'm currently in, which we can talk about later.
Yeah.
So it's a strange one. I've never really had a plan. There are times when I wish I have had a plan when I was younger, but it's a strange one. Everybody always wishes what the path that they didn't have. Yeah. So I found myself in this wonderful position, where when you ask about what the dream is, I've got a vague idea. But really, that would have changed at any point in my life. But at the moment, my dream would be to help to integrate and introduce other educators into the virtues of VR.
Okay. And is there like a particular reason why you would want to spread that knowledge?
Yeah. This might sound like some sort of preconceived and perfect answer to give, but genuinely for the benefit of students. Just give you a quick example of what I mean by that. I've always felt this way anyway. That the students who come to college, and we end up teaching one of the least exciting subjects I teach is health and safety. Purely health and safety and efficiency in the workplace and so on. And it's a tough gig sometimes to try. And I even tell the students, say, listen, we've got 20 questions here. I'm going to explain them to you. And we're going to talk about it, but bear with me. I'm going to do my best. But as we worked our way through the course last year, this group were wonderful, really good bunch of students. And I felt for them. I felt sorry for them because I know, and there's a phrase I've heard 1,000 times on podcasts, I know that outside of education that their lives are 100 miles an hour. And yet us, and I'm speaking not for you because you're younger, but us older generation, not really me, but expect them to make that transition from their lives to come into an education setting, sit down, look at a PowerPoint, take notes. I know it's got its place, but I think you know where I'm heading on this.
Yeah.
And then maybe talk the traditional, which is a horrible word I hate anyway, the traditional way of teaching. And yet they were through goodwill, they were doing this. But I know, because I've experienced it, there's a better way. And I thought, these kids of today, they deserve us, or usually older generation as well, educators, and another phrase I heard on a podcast was to meet them halfway. Yeah. Meet them where they're at. not rigidly enforce them to come back to the way they've been teaching since 1920.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I mean, obviously there's a huge gap because effectively you guys are the decision makers, whether you're teachers or the headmasters. You know, most of the people placed in these leadership roles are the older generations. So as you say, it's impossible that the gap is so big, and then you expect the kids to come out of education and be ready to do whatever they need to do, right? Especially as you say, so the real world is so much more quicker, dynamic, uncertain, whereas, you know, the education space is almost like a bubble where read this PowerPoint, get it right, and you'll be fine. And I was actually thinking about this during a walk right now with my girlfriend. We took a walk before coming onto the podcast. And I was thinking exactly that, like, why am I feeling so much more anxiety and stressed out, right? You know, when you get this feeling in the chest. I get this all the time because I thought, oh, my dream, I want to build my business, and building a business is very difficult. So, whereas being at uni or doing my A-levels, that was hard, but like, it was not the same type of toughness because I knew what I had to do in order to get the grade. Like, everything was in my control. I just had to do it. And I knew the path to success, basically. And nothing else was going to change. I studied these health and safety. It's the 20 questions. As long as I remember it somehow, I'll be fine.
Spot on.
And I'm able to, you know, articulate it on an exam paper. Then I'm set for uni. And then from uni, I'm set for my first job. But then once you get to the first job, well, my first job was being an entrepreneur, you realize that you can work as hard as you like. For example, if your product does not meet the market's needs, then it's useless. And that's why I'm always feeling this anxiety of uncertainty. And this is not something the education system is kind of molding us to, right? For the real world. So I completely understand what you're saying.
That's a really good, interesting explanation you've just given there. And it's funny because this last 3 weeks or so, the key word at our college that we've been advised to try and help students with, and it's not easy, it is resilience. And that does mean the ability to translate from what we have, what they experience at college now, to the work environment. And that's something, especially because I work in the engineering department. Yep. It's quite interesting because we're told to it's kind of what you were saying. We're told to prepare them for work, and that's sometimes quite a pain point. I'll just elaborate a little bit. So even such things as our lesson starts at 9. If you turn up at 1 minute past 9, you're going to go down as late. You know, a big fat L next to your name. And it's an interesting relationship that the students have, because some of them say, "Well, it's only 1 minute late." And my friend and colleague, a chap called Graham Armstrong, we used to have this routine where he'd say, "Well, I tell you what," he said, "imagine we're in work now, and what I'll say is to the foreman, to the boss, stop the production line. It's okay. It's only 1 minute. It's only 1 minute of production, but we're going to stop because Joe Bloggs is late." So I'd say, "It's fine, it's fine." And he went on, and he really made the point, you know, about this. It feels like your safe bubble, and it is, and it's safe, but we need to educate you into what it's going to be like outside of college, because otherwise it's going to be a heck of a shock. Exactly. It's really interesting.
Very hard, though. It is very hard to think, how do you educate that resilience? This environment without having, well, the parents going, "Are you bullying my kid?" You know, when you get the parents involved. And you say, "No, we're trying to train them for the real world." No, we've got to protect them. You know, so those are the countering forces.
And being a parent as well, I understand the other side of that argument as well. It's wrong, but yes, it's wrong, but absolutely, I understand it. No, really good explanation into that. Yeah,
100%. But so going into that and taking deeper into what we want to talk about. As I said at the beginning, I have no idea engineering and welding, nothing. So for those who are listening, we're educators from other courses and subjects. So what is hydrogen and welding exactly?
Okay. If you don't mind, let me tell you the story of how it started for me, because this will bleed in and possibly answer the question. Yeah. Okay. Right. So I was a welder for 15 years in a very small Welsh town called Welshpool. At that time in my life, I was happy. It was okay, but 15 years anywhere tends to take its toll on you. Yeah. And I went home to my wife one day, and I said, she's my girlfriend then. I said, I can't do this for the rest of my life. There's got to be something more. I like welding, but as I said, there's something else I need to do. But I don't know what it is. Yeah. It's really interesting, and there's a lesson. I tell this story to my students because there's quite a few lessons in this story actually. Kind of different to you, Bola, because I respect you having the courage to do things like to be an entrepreneur, which is just foreign to me, and I wouldn't have the courage for that. But you can have your courage in other ways. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine said, "Oh, there's a local business that want to employ a private welding tutor. Do you think that education is a route that you would like?" And I said, absolutely yes. Snapped his hand off, went for the interview, got the job. So I was working for a private business then, which isn't quite, the education system that we all know, but it was the introduction into it, and I really enjoyed it. But then I wanted something more. I had conversations about what it was like to work in higher education. Okay. And I seen this vacancy come up for a welding tutor at Riverside College. And I applied through an agency. Okay. Now, the job advert said, you need a teaching qualification. I didn't have one. Nope. You need an assessor's qualification. I didn't have one. You need experience in teaching welding, which I did have. And there's a friend of my father-in-law who once said, if you can do 40% of what a job requirement asks for, just 40%, because they're always asking for the world anyway, put your CV in and go for it. You've got nothing to lose. So I did. But interestingly, I didn't hear anything back after 2 weeks. Now, the story I tell the students, I said, so most people said, you've got to understand this. Most people would then think, oh, well, I didn't get the job. That's unfortunate. But I'm very determined. And so I phoned the agency. I said, I haven't heard anything. I said, I think my CV has got everything, but I think it's a pretty good CV. Yeah. Tell me why. And she said, I'll never forget it. She said, well, Craig, the thing is, you haven't got any experience of teaching welding. I said, could you just have another look at that first page on my CV, the bit where it says I'm currently a welding tutor. I was trying to keep my temper in check, She said, oh, yeah. I said, what do you mean, Craig? Yeah. I said, could you pass my CV on now, please? She said, yeah, okay.
So she didn't even pass it on?
No! And this job was there, oh my God. So she did. The manager, just about my manager, wonderful man. For me, long story cut short, I got the job. So it was great. I knew how to teach welding, that horrible word, forgive me, Polish, traditional. I knew how to teach it the traditional way. I didn't know any other way. Mm-hmm. And it's quite a laborious way of teaching. I'm just going to summarize how you teach welding, because that'll explain how I made the move into VR.
Yeah.
So essentially, if you're teaching, I'm going to teach you, Polo. I've got a class of 15 here now. Yeah. I'm going to teach you first. I'm going to explain how we weld from. Are you right-handed?
Right-handed, yes.
Yeah. So you're going to weld from right to left at a steady pace, having a certain distance from the workpiece. I'll demonstrate it, and then I'll ask you to have a go, and I'll give you my feedback. But then, and this is all in about 45 seconds, I've got to move on, because I've got student number 2 here, 3, 4, 5, all the way into 15. And by the time I got to student number 6, you'll have forgotten everything that I've said anyway, or at least most of it. Student 15 over there is furious because I haven't got to them yet, and so it goes. There is no other way of teaching it traditionally, and it's a hard slog. But I'd been at the college for 6 months, and they said, "Did you know?" Someone came to see me and said, "Did you know that we had previously had a grant, funding for the local area, and we've got £125,000 worth of VR welding equipment?" So just like most men over 40, I said, "No thanks. What can VR possibly teach me? Thank you." I'd never even experienced VR before.
100K of VR. Well, what do they have?
I'll explain. Wonderful. So during the summer, when it was a bit quiet, I thought, I've already made my stand. I'm not going to use VR. I'm a man. I know the way that I teach things. And I thought, well, it's not going to hurt to go and have a look. Just going to have a look at these machines. So I went in. I put this, in the real life, you've probably seen where you're welding, you have a welding mask.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got on your VR welding mask, you've got your lenses in front of you. Yeah. And I had a go, and it transformed me and my career. Absolutely unbelievable. For reasons that we'll go into, and again, I'll talk all night if you allow me to, but basically you get visual feedback constantly. Constant visual feedback, as opposed to, take you back to the traditional way, mm-hmm. Polo, you're welding, it's dark, there's fumes, I've got my welding mask, I'm trying to look at what you're doing, and you've got to believe there's no other better way. I'm going to give you my opinion. And therein lies the problem with probably most practical tasks and practical tutors: subjectivity. There's always subjectivity. I know that I'm right with what I'm telling you to do, Polo, but then again, so does the next welding tutor, and it's subjectivity, a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. But then you have 15,
and then you have 15 students waiting for your feedback.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, so what happened from then, if I'm not veering too far, of course, is I realised this was going to save me a lot of time, trouble, the college, thousands of pounds. So I got my students into this room. We've got 5. They're called Vertex. Incidentally, Vertex is where the 2 pieces of steel. Okay. Like that. They're £25,000 each when they were bought. And interest, yes, sir. But interestingly, when you see the machines, you think that it's the hardware. You see, you think because they're quite big machines, they're quite old now. But you think that, wonder why they're so expensive. But it's not that. It's the R&D that's gone into making them. Correct. So every student that goes through a few weeks tuition on these comes out with the parameters and the guidance absolutely correct, if that makes sense to you. Yeah.
So wait, this machine, they can use it for a long time. Like, it's not this.
Wow, this absolutely. So yeah, so I'm enjoying this because I normally speak to people who know a bit about welding, and I like this. This is better, so I can explain. So in a workshop, though, to make things even more difficult, people are going to be crying their eyes out for poor old welding tutors here. To make things a little bit more difficult is, Polo, when you've had a go at welding your 2 pieces of steel, I've given you my feedback. You're going to have to go off and go into 2 pieces of steel, make 2 new pieces of steel, or 4. It's going to cost the college money. It's going to take you time. You're going to see your friends as you come back, and you're going to have a little chit chat before you get there. But with these, and I'm saying we've got a video to show you whenever you're ready. Yeah. But with these, you can have your attempt at a weld. You get your summative feedback at the end, your score, because everybody likes the score. Everybody likes their final score out of 100. Breaks it down into why that score is 76 or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And then you simply press a button, go again. Press a button, go again and again and again. So not is it only addictive for the students, but it's just easier. There's no health and safety risks. And ultimately, it's, as I said, not ultimately, but there's two benefits. One, it does save money. Of course it does. It saves thousands and lots of greenhouse gases being emitted. But also, because I'm quite sad with my data, I've done lots of data analysis. The increase in speed of learning is incredible.
Did you manage to do a test where one group had VR and then
Absolutely, yeah. So I teach students 16 to 18 during the day. But in the evenings, I teach adults, which is a total different ball game, but still the same issues arise, Yeah, so I've been teaching that way for about 2 years before I started using VR with them, and I kept the data. So yeah, on an adult level 1 introduction to welding, you have 10 nights. So that's 10 weeks, 10 nights. and you have 5 test pieces to weld correctly. Okay. And usually, and I've got all the data, but usually they tend to all reach test piece number 5, the final one, on about week 7, 8, 9, even 10 sometimes. But the transformation, when we just used the first 2 nights with the VR, they were finishing on like week 5. We had someone finish within 2 nights of doing it. It was basically all the hard work has just been saved. It's able
to even complete the course.
Yeah. Yes. But then we were able to upskill them with other skills then. So they didn't just learn the basics. We were able to
it's like real life stuff, like another piece, another specialized knowledge.
Exactly.
That is very. Yeah. Let me show the video.
Yeah. So what we're going to see now. So red, you're too far away. Amber, you're almost close enough, and green, you've got it right.
I think it must be playing now.
There you go.
Thanks for making this video for us.
Oh, you're welcome.
Was it you in VR, like going in them?
Yeah.
So that's the L-shaped machine, the metal that you were talking about.
Yeah, that's the virtual steel. The white is the virtual weld. Can you see how the little arrow is on red? Now it's amber, now it's green.
Yes. What does that mean?
Yeah, so too far away, almost close enough, and actually close enough.
Wow.
And and I think the other one you've seen is the speed of travel, which is really interesting because to get a consistent speed of travel, you might think is relatively easy, Polo, but it's the hardest thing in the world when it comes to
it's like the sniper, right? That you have to just hold your breath.
Yeah, and everybody does as well, absolutely.
Hi there, so I'm just about to start doing a physical weld here, and we're going to see whether I improve after I've had the virtual training. So this is going to be my first go doing a proper one, and we'll see the mistakes that I make. Hopefully there won't be that many, but we'll see. Okay, so this is me already tried out my first weld, as you've seen. Now I'm going to try practicing on virtual reality. This one is interesting. It's binocular. That's quite unusual. It's got 2 lenses that you can adjust for your eyes, so that means that you get a sense of depth. That's all I know at the moment, but I'm going to test this against the ones, and then I'm just going to bring down the helmet.
Travel speed, not bad, 75, but I think we could do with a better position. Visual aids are all off. So I've took the scaffolding away now.
Right, okay.
Okay. So nice and slow. Wow. All visual cues off, a score of 81. 81. So look at these now. Your contact tip to work distance to begin with, no visual cues, was 22. Now it's 71 with no visual cues.
Wow.
So you've just understood exactly what would happen. And as I mentioned to you earlier, the difference being in a welding workshop, you'd be welding with real steel. I give you some verbal communication, I'd do a demonstration, I'd evaluate you, and then I'd give you verbal feedback.
Wow.
But then I'd go.
Yeah.
I've got 13 other welders to come. Some institutions would come to a student now and say, well done, you've got 82, but if you were to ask that student why they got 82 out of 100, they wouldn't be able to tell you. When it's used right, you can visually look at all these now and you know, I mean, what's your weakest one there?
Probably the contact to work distance again.
Yeah.
You know, I was being guided mostly on this by sound.
Yes.
And it was only because using the previous visual indicators, it's a bit like when you're driving and you can look at your, when you're learning to drive, yeah,
brilliant.
And that's what was happening there.
Brilliant.
And of course you'll always have sound, you know?
Look at that. For me, 50-60% better than your last attempt. Consistency.
Yeah. So that's what the students see. So whilst that's very good educationally, as I said, it's not really gamification, but it is definitely addictive because you get your score of 62, your fellow student has 63, anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Human being, we need to compete.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, but yeah,
I was going to ask you, what's the name of this VR software or hardware as well? Like, where do you get that if somebody wants?
Yeah. It's Lincoln Electric. They're not paying me for this, but they should. Lincoln Electric Vertex VRTEX Vertex machines. They're actually this big, the ones that we've got, but now they've got them compacted because ours are about 10 years old now, 15 years old. They're compacted all this into a suitcase now. But it's still the same kind of thing that you do. You put on a welding mask and you get your hardware in front of you. So there is like a plastic representation of a welded joint.
It's synchronized. Like, you don't need to set up external cameras. Nothing is.
No. Absolutely, yeah.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. It is, but it's a strange one, really, Bobo. It should have transformed welding education. It really should have. I mean, it has for me. I'm very lucky.
So why hasn't it? Okay, so that was the next question.
Yeah.
Okay. What has been the biggest challenge for you so far? So why hasn't it exploded? Because I've been in VR for 8 years, something like that. And I mean, it's growing for sure. That's why I'm still in it, and I believe in it. But why hasn't it exploded?
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be very honest with you. 2 things. Less important, or less of the reason, would be the cost. It's very hard to understand that this will save you thousands of pounds in the long run. It's quite a leap of faith. I say the college bought them because we had a grant, we had funding for the local government. But the main reason is that welding tutors tend to be people like me who've spent years in industry. So I'm going to say people approaching 50 or maybe over 50, 40s, 50, who've never been exposed to VR before. It's still relatively new to the people who've never experienced VR before, just like my attitude when I started. What can VR possibly teach me? And it's such a sea change from doing. There's a phrase I say about to my students on the health and safety course. I said that the one thing that I hated in industry was the phrase I used to hear all the time. And this is applicable now is, but this is the way we've always done it. It's very hard to move people away from that, you know. That's the sticking point. But when it comes to cost, I need to tell you something that I tell lots of colleges. I sat down one day and did a cost analysis. So as you know, it's a lot of money. It's now they're £20,000, give or take, I believe. Okay. But I did a cost analysis of a normal 2-hour welding lesson with 15 students. And it cost the college everything. I did kilowatt hours, shielding gas, steel, consumables, all works. Absolutely, yes, sir. And one 2-hour lesson cost the college £230. Okay. Using the Vertex, which, as we know, increases the speed of learning as well. Yep. So that's £230 versus £5.13. Okay. Now we have 5 lessons per week. Now that soon mounts up.
Yeah,
imagine that.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah. Just per week, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's phenomenal, yeah.
So so one question would be, how often does best practices get updated? So then you have to renew. I don't even know how.
That is a good question.
Works. Is it something that's fixed and then the company is never updating new best practices, or it's because it's quite standardized anyway, there's no need to update? How does it work?
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much standardized, really, because the basic skills. There are other things that are more advanced or less advanced and so on. But no, I think you've got the gist of it there. That the basic skills needed probably will never change, really. Yeah.
So if you were so another question: Why hasn't the company who produces this? Obviously, I mean, they should know the numbers already, more or less, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure they do, but I don't know. But they should be if they have already been able to sell this to other colleges.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you talked to them? I don't know.
Yeah. I've got really good contacts with them. Yes, they've sold. It's, again, subjective, what you call a lot. There's a lot of systems been sold for sure. But just like with most technology, once they're taken on board, just like they were when I started at college, they tend to be left to the side because I think it's human nature. to want to do things, as we discussed before, to revert to type, to go back to how it used to, But having said that, contradictory, the reason I didn't do that is because, and I'm being very honest here, Bobby, yes, I know it helps the students, but it helps me. And that's why I've stayed with it, because it helped me. It made my life easier. Being very honest here, if it didn't make my life easier, I'm not sure that I would have stuck with it. I would have tried to, but it didn't. As I said, it's saved me. I would have had much more wrinkles than I currently do if I'd have carried on doing the traditional way. So it's a really interesting question that you pose there. And I think it speaks of the broader issue of VR in education anyway. It will come in eventually, but it's hard to convert people.
It does seem to be very... I mean, I'm currently doing teaching for adults and teaching teachers who are public schools around here in Tenerife. They have, I think the government love to invest into these brand new technology, whatever. And what happened is they are left with all these 3D printers and VR headsets, and nobody knows how to do anything with them. So you need to get some experts to educate them. So as we were saying, I mean, it's a lack of education for the educators as well, for sure. But I'm sure if somebody like you who goes in and tell them about how it helps you, as you were saying, then it might help convince them, because I find it very strange how, the same machine would be helping you, yet another tutor in the college has the same piece of equipment would leave it aside. Like, I find that very strange. That is, I mean, it's hard to... Innovation has always been
it's one of those things where once you've experienced it, a bit like VR in general, Paul, isn't it? Once you've experienced it, it's very difficult to see the mindset of I'm quite lucky because I remember my mindset, so I can understand that. I've got empathy to a certain extent because I was that. I can say about myself, I can't say about other people, but I was that closed-minded individual, but closed-minded to a certain extent because at least I allowed myself to try it,
Yeah, now you're benefiting from it.
Yeah.
And it's not only emotionally, but you actually did analysis that now everybody who listens to this podcast will know that it's not just, I feel better and the students feel better. No, they arrive to the objective.
Yeah.
Five courses, 5
nights.
Before.
Yeah.
It's geared and it's saving money, a lot of money. It's a no-brainer, right? So, it baffles me.
I have to just tell you a quick anecdote. When I tell the students, the men and women on my adult evening course, I tell them what's coming. I said, we're going to be on these VR machines, and you get the looks and the comments. And I'll never forget one chap. He became a really good friend at the end of the course. But I remember after 1 week of using the VR machines, he was drinking a cup of coffee, and he said, "When are we going to get to just welding metal?" And I said, "No, listen." I said, "I want you to give me a leap of faith. I want you to take a leap of faith in me. Trust me. I know what I'm doing." And he had a bit of a grumble. He wasn't very happy at all, but he did turn up the next week and he did do the VR again. And when he finished, it was quite emotional, actually. He came up to me in the workshop. He said, "You were right." I said, what do you mean? He said, I know what I've learned on that VR. He said, and I know that I've learned it quick. He said, and I've got to finish my course tonight. He said, and I just want to say that you were right. And I couldn't help it. I said, yeah, I did say, didn't I? We had a great laugh and got on really well after that. But yeah, it is interesting. But go on. Do you want to talk about the hydrogen part yet now? Or?
Yeah, I mean, go on.
Yeah.
Continue. Yes,
yeah.
Of course, the hydrogen.
Great. So if you're
welding, I mean,
all right.
What the hell is hydrogen?
Yeah.
I mean, I did welding. I didn't know that. That sounds like you're building a nuclear bomb or something.
Well, here's the other lesson for I do mean it that my wife is a director at the company my wife works for. Wonderful man. I'm going to name check him. Les Jones. Shout out Les Jones. Very, very creative guy. He's got this phrase that we've got in our living room on a poster because I try to live by it. We all do. Wow. And it's, when you do stuff, other stuff happens. Okay, so I'll elaborate onto that. Was about 3 years ago. I was in my role, happy being a health and safety and welding tutor at the college. But in the local area, it's actually big news on the local area today, with a lot of jobs in the green economy. So they're going to start to make hydrogen. So I won't go into that. We're going to start to make hydrogen to help reach net zero. Instead of using natural gas or methane, we're going to start to use hydrogen. And the college had employed a tutor to come and teach local adults. So we had funding to hire a tutor to teach local adults, to upskill them in everything about hydrogen, so they'd have a better chance in the Merseyside area of gaining employment in what's coming down the line. And the guy, he pulled out for some reason with about 6 weeks to go. Now, we think it's because he'd never taught adults before and he'd only taught 16 to 18-year-olds. We think maybe got a bit daunted of it, but the truth of the matter is, as I'm sure you know, that teach adults is just a dream. It's just unbelievable. I love it. So I knew there was a vacancy there. I knew the college were, again, I wouldn't say desperate, but in need of a tutor. Now, I knew nothing about hydrogen. But I said to my wife, it was leading up to Christmas about 3 years ago, I said, listen, if you can help me with our beautiful daughters, just take the hit a little bit. If you can free me up a little bit, I can immerse myself in every online course known to man about hydrogen. I'm happy to spend the money, but I think I can put myself in the frame for this. I did. She did, thankfully, really helped me out. Did all these courses, emailed my boss. I said, this is what I've done. I think I can develop a course and I think I can teach it. And he said yes, which is a bit of a gulp moment, you know. Oh, you got what you wanted.
Exactly. You get what you wish for.
Yes, absolutely. And I did. And I've developed this course, and I teach it now. I teach it Monday night and a Wednesday night. And it's wonderful, but the lesson there, again, to anybody who's listening, is, and it's as you say, you alluded to this earlier, Polo, and there's a few phrases that you can use. You can use that post just spoke of, and an American one I've heard lately is push the button, quite like that. Just do it. Just don't think. Just do it, you know. So how those work together is, because there's a need for people with skills in the green economy, and to understand what hydrogen is and to how it behaves as a gas. That's why we've developed this course. However, we wanted to teach them another skill to bolt onto it. Now, we've got two routes. So we've got two courses, a Monday and a Wednesday night. The Monday night, I teach the first 10 weeks, the first 10 nights, all about hydrogen, guest speakers in and so on and so forth. And then they go off to a very talented colleague of mine to learn about machine maintenance. That's not really my bag. That's really his forte. So then they come out to the course with knowledge of hydrogen and machine maintenance. What better way to stand you in good stead for employment in the green economy? But by the same token, the Wednesday night guys and girls, the same 10 weeks of hydrogen education, then I take them then to develop the welding skills. So again, they finish the course. It's a funded course as well, by the way, from the local council fund. A wonderful way to upskill local people, local adults who want to change career. So they come out of that with the necessary, at least a toe into the skills that they would need. So whilst this was a great idea, just like most things, Polo, it's a lovely idea, but would it actually work? Well, the third week in one of the hydrogen courses I was doing, there's this great guy. I was about 10 minutes into the course. He said, "Well, could I just say something to the class, please?" And I thought, okay, I'll give him the leeway here. This is interesting. Anything could happen. I said, "Of course. What would you like to say?" And he said, "Well," he said, "we're all here, really." He said, "We've given reasons why we're on the hydrogen course, but we're really here because we want to lead the jobs that we're in. We want to part in this, this green economy." He said, "So I applied for a job in Indeed.com. He said, I just put in hydrogen, something up in the local area, put my CV in, and said that I was doing the course at Riverside College on hydrogen education. And he said, the MD of the company phoned me the next morning. He said he didn't specifically offer me the job, but he said, if you would like to come along, I can't believe that somebody offers this course that's enabled you to stand out from the crowd. It's not just somebody coming along saying, oh, I'm interested in the job in hydrogen, let me in. He said, if somebody said, put themselves out there to go there in the evening to learn about it. And it was really, really rewarding. Now, I followed this up with that MD of that company, and I phoned him. We had a bit of a chat about it. It's exactly what he just said. He said, I'm just so grateful that someone is upskilling these local people in order for them to gain employment. And it's what we wanted, and this is happening time and time again. So whilst they're not, in answer to your question, whilst they're not exactly combined as such, they're bolted together to give the adults in the local area a really good chance of employment.
Because of course, because anything to do with this type of industry, green economy, you will need people to weld whatever the build.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
That's interesting. Yeah, and the funny thing is, when I was in the UK, I don't think I was ever sold by anybody about colleges ever. I didn't really understand what college was for. I thought, okay, secondary school. So what do colleges actually do? But now, obviously, I'm older. Then you start seeing, a huge benefit of people who are wanting to quit their job, or as you say, like there's a local structural problem where things are moving on, and they need new skillful people. So it's a great way for adults to get off work, and then they can spend 2 hours and just push themselves and study something new, and especially the fact that the local authority obviously fund this. So it's an amazing way of upskilling people, as you say, and I really buy into that. And I really like British education. I went through the whole thing myself, so I believe obviously there are problems and teachers shortages, and as you say, traditional education is not meeting the realities. But overall, I believe it has prepared me for real life. I went to a boarding school as well, so it was different, but still, like the education that I got from the school itself, I thought was honestly, but especially being a state school.
Yeah.
I realized that. Yes. They're really bad state schools, like really, really bad ones. And I can, from my own experience, of course, that, there are many good state schools around. And that's at the state level. In Spain, the state schools, they're not very good. It's not their fault itself. It's just how the whole system is run. So for me, it's awful, but it's
one thing I would add on that is just to echo what you said about the English system. You can. It sounds very, very cheesy and very American-y, but it doesn't mean it's not right. When I really believe that you can be anything that you want to be because the facilities are there for you. How easy can it be for you? It's not easy, but how great is it that you've got that? The example I would give again would be. Before I was a welder, I was a manual labourer. I didn't do very well at school. And I remember doing labour at 6 a.m. in the morning. I remember I was working on a pressure vessel. So it's basically just a cylindrical object, and there's something called a dished end. As you can imagine, a bit like a dish, but you have to manipulate it in order for one of the welders to come along and weld it. And I remember at 6 a.m. I was 24. I was doing that with a lump hammer. It flipped up, it landed on my foot, and I thought, no more. What can I do? And I looked across and I could see these rows of welders, with these guys welding, and I thought, well, that looks cool, and I know they're on more money than me. I want some of that. So what I did was, the facility was there. I paid for myself to do, weirdly, the introduction to welding that I now teach in the evenings, to actually go on that course. And I went on the course, and that's what started my career into welding. And I just thought, everything is there for you. It's all down to if you want it enough. There's almost got no excuse in a way with the English education system. Yeah, you might have to travel a bit to do the course that you want, but what do you want to do? Do you want to sit and moan about it, or do you want to grab the ball by the...
Especially when we know that there are opportunities that will pay you better. Work maybe at a better time as well. So definitely, I believe I have to take these opportunities. And even for a teacher who's looking to, implement VR into their class, right?
Yes.
Whatever they're teaching. Well, okay, so this comes up to my last question, which is, if a higher ed teacher wants to start, where would you point them to? First step. Where would you point them to first?
Thomas Kirrick.
Who's this guy?
Okay. Thomas Kirrick, or his American counterpart, whose name I can't quite remember the name. Okay, Thomas works for Engage, the VR platform Engage. Now, I'll come back to Thomas in a minute, but I've spent the last 2 years trying to figure out where to start. I think probably you might have been one of the guys who actually sent my generic.
No, but that's what I meant. But then you already have the kit, the VR stuff with the weld.
Yeah.
So how does it translate to the Engage? Like, I haven't connected
together. Well, I've been it's really good. So I was sold on VR after the welding equipment. So I thought, I know that it works. I know that I've got the students on side, but now what? So for me, there was many questions, and I will come back to your point. There was many questions. Great, but where do I start? It's always confusing. There's so much choice. AR, VR, XR, headsets. Where do you go? So I went through 2 years of emailing people and experimenting with students as well and finding different ways. All what I've learned, I can only tell you would work. I know what works in the education system. When you see, just my opinion, but it's what I found. When you see these images, videos of students walking about with their VR headsets on, doing various things, practical tasks, it looks great, but I'm going to say it, that won't work in education. We haven't got so many issues around. We haven't got the space to put everybody in their little zone. The health and safety issues there of them bumping into each other as well. It doesn't sound significant, but it is, and it could be. It could be enough to knock off. So after dealing with lots of people, I found Engage. I found Thomas, who was David Whelan is the main guy, but I'm just telling you my experience. What he did was not push, not sell. He might be a sales guy, but he didn't. He said, "This is what we do. This is what you can do with the free version. Tell me what you think." And so I had a little experiment. So basically, I actually had a class last week, actually, where we all sit down. We had 8 of us sitting down. So there's no health and safety issues. They're all sitting at the desk in the little VR room that we have the VR welders in. And I took them on a journey to on one of the Engaged worlds, where I was able to bring in. This is the beauty of it, and this is something you'll be familiar with, where I could scan good welds and bad welds that I'd done, bring in that 3D model, put them there, make them huge. It was wonderful because you asked earlier about theory or practical. The thing with theory is great, and I do enjoy teaching that, but in the real world, what would happen would have had a class full of students, and I'd pass them a physical weld with a defect called porosity, which is where your weld looks like volcanic rock, loads of bubbles. Now, what happens is that students, on the whole, they're a bit too cool for school. So if I give it a quick glance and then pass it over. Like I don't want to be seen to be interested. Okay, they'll pass it on. And it's only that small anyway, Polo, so they can only have a brief look. But the beauty of being able to bring them into Engage and then suddenly make this weld the size of a house and say, go on, now go and look to it. And you've got the other dynamic there of them not being scared to be seen, to be interested, because no one else is looking at them or maybe looking at their avatar. That is quite a strong one in education, and it worked absolutely wonderfully well. And you've probably seen that I actually did a whole hour on it the other night, teaching people from around the world, with educators in VR.
Yes, you went into the...
Yeah, that brilliant... let me just do my PowerPoint. With a brilliant... Laurel Van Fossel. Yeah. She got me doing that. So I'll bring you back to answer your question. So what was really good was that students sit down, you're able to do your teleport, you're able to move about, the practical things. But for me, I feel quite strongly that is the route to feel so strongly that if you could just, there's a gulf between people who work in education and these well-meaning, and I do mean it, well-meaning companies who have these wonderful apps where the students need to walk around and do X, Y, Z. But that won't work in education. You're not going to have the teachers bring the Quest headset. Other headsets are available in a box. That's not going to happen. It's not. It's an easy out for them to say no, thank you. I'll stick to my PowerPoint. Yep. But if you have them already in situ, luckily as I do because I have a wonderful manager, it works. And the other thing I'll say, and I say this with a smile, and I'm sure it's something that you may have experienced, but imagine being the teacher who has the class after they've had their VR lesson and you've got your PowerPoint ready. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Genuinely, because that is going to happen. They're going to have their VR lesson where they've learned loads and had a really good time in doing so. And it's not this other tutor's school. It's nice. He's probably a brilliant teacher, he or she, really good teacher, but you can't compete with you sit down, get your notebooks out and start watching my PowerPoint, so definitely not. Yeah. And
more so if you, the younger generation, 12, 13-year-olds who are coming on, they're going to start to have access at home as well, so they probably already have.
Yes.
They know what it's like, so they're like, why can't we do VR? We do this.
Yes. That's right.
So your first step, just to sum up, so your first step for any teacher would be to just have a look and engage, for them to try something, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Even the free version, you're not on the pay one yet.
No. I'm interestingly, I'm looking for funding to get the paid version. So anybody wants to help Riverside College do that. But no, that's it. That's a really good way of saying it. But yeah, to experience, engage, have a look around. I'd be more than happy to give anybody a tour of what can be done. Absolutely, happy. But those guys that engage, that Thomas, just. It's unusual. Paul, I'm sure you've had your dealings with salespeople in the past.
I have. I've talked to them. I've talked to Victory Excel. I've walked around a lot of things.
Yeah.
VR.
Yeah.
I'm a salesman as well. I'm a salesperson. To be honest, we're all salespeople.
Yeah.
You cannot get through life without selling.
Good.
You have to sell
Very good.
To your wife, to your girlfriend, to your kids.
Brilliant.
Your kids are selling themselves to you as well every day.
Brilliant.
Trying to persuade you to buy them, whatever. I mean, we're all salesmen. I mean, it's
brilliant.
It's hard to think people think they are not salesmen.
Yeah.
They don't need to sell. I mean, how can you actually get through life without selling yourself? It's impossible.
Could I add something more whilst I'm on?
Yes.
I just wanted to thank you, sir. It's interesting, really. When I told you the story of when I first started at that college, and it was my manager's name's Andy James, who hired me at the time. He took a chance. There's no doubt about that. He did. He obviously liked what he saw. But he's been my manager for the last 5 years now. Interestingly, he's just got a promotion, which I'm furious about.
Did that take him away from you?
Slightly, not as much as I feared. But I found, because this is my first foray into education, a lot of my colleagues are very keen to tell me that not every college is like Riverside College. As you said, we've got outstanding twice concurrently. That's right. Yeah. But added to that is, if you are lucky enough to have a manager and a backer and someone to support you like I do with Andy James, then your job is going to be so much easier, because I am aware that it's not easy to teach, at least in colleges, and the stories I hear, it can be very hard and lonely sometimes. But if you are lucky enough to get someone like that, I won't go on, but it needs to be said, this chap has backed me with every idea that I've had. Do you know how easy it would have been for him to say, do you know what, I want you to stick to your Vertex welding machines, but, just stay away from the headsets, for whatever reason, in case he thinks it draws my attention away from doing the good job I do normally. Yeah. But he didn't. He's backed me all the way and give me leeway. Nice. and a certain degree of autonomy, which again is not something that a lot of teachers are given.
Yeah, I'm gonna get. Everybody's listening and probably thinking, "Yeah, my boss is not gonna be."
Absolutely, yeah. So I probably wouldn't be at this stage talking to someone as interesting as you if it wasn't for someone to back like that. So I do feel very privileged in that, and very lucky. It needed to be said. Yeah.
Well, that summarizes the fact that as much as we talk about innovation, and that whoever's listening can actually take away exactly what you did to their college. If they do not have a leadership team that encourages innovation, then there's no point. I mean, there could be a wonderful rocket that will help you with education, but they're not going to buy it.
It's absolutely. But doesn't that tell the story, though, the correlation there between the manager who does that and he so happens to work for a college that's got outstanding status twice? Do you the correlation there? And you think that there's got to be a good
exactly the people inside who are promoting innovation and pushing people further. Really, the right word, and not just letting them do whatever they've been doing already. So look, we only got a short life to live. Why are we trying to do the same thing over and over and over again? Right? Yeah. We call it, the entrepreneurs, we're stuck in the matrix.
Yes. Could I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
What's been your experience of Engage?
So, because I'm not an educator, and I tried it with Victory XR and myself as well. The great thing about Engage is that it's very dynamic. Like, you do have a lot of worlds, you can get in, the avatars are really good, and it's multi-platform. So I don't think we mentioned that. So even if you don't have the VRSA, if you're just gonna, go a step back where everyone has their laptops and tablets and phones, then you can all get onto Engage as well. You won't have the same exact experience. It could be the first step instead of
Brilliant.
10 VRSS,
Brilliant.
100 VRSS. It will be more, viable first step, right? But in terms of, I find it that you do need a very good bandwidth, like Wi-Fi. My VRSS, obviously my home Wi-Fi is not like a commercial office or a school might have, the top Wi-Fi to have 1,000 people on at the same time, right? So obviously I have trouble loading anything, or suddenly I'll drop out of the session. So we'll still, I would say it's a great product, but I don't know if the infrastructure is there for every single class. Or, even if the school has it, maybe your classroom happen to not have that connection, and then it just all gets out of the window, right? Get thrown out of the window.
You're so right. I'm very lucky. The head of IT, Dan Keenan, came across and put a Wi-Fi hub right above.
If you don't have that, you scroll, right? You're like, I heard, great, save you a lot of money, this band, a headset, blah, blah, blah. And then they get to the class and they're like, no, it doesn't even load.
Yeah.
We need 5G across all the buildings. Maybe even 6. I don't know. For it to move and have the time, immersion. I mean, we're coming on to like the challenges of VR in general. This happens in industry. It's not just education. Obviously, like most businesses still have this type of Wi-Fi to handle the bit rate or whatever of loading all these renders. That's the complicated part. And also having, obviously, you have 8-10 people, students, but then a lot of traditional secondary schools, they have 30. I mean, children into one scene is pretty hefty as well.
Interestingly, though, I believe what the Meta's news of that the new cheap Meta. Just I feel that there's incremental changes happening.
Of course. I've been in the industry for 8 years, and when I started, it was a cardboard box. And a phone stuck onto the box I mean,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
like the most consumer friendly level experience. So, and that I already predicted when I was 22. I was like, I mean, this is so obvious as of any technology that this is only going to get better. And the first thing I would do is to cut all the cables, which is what they did.
Yeah.
Get rid of the cameras, which they did as well. They put the cameras onto the headset, so then you don't need to have to plug into external cameras to track where you are. Now you can free roam with a computer in your head. So the next phase is already happening when Mark Zuckerberg introduced the glasses, not the headset, the glasses.
Yes.
I mean, that was so obvious. It's going to come. It's just, but it takes enough time, as they say.
Yeah.
We're trying to shove all this 3D stuff into like a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
Very difficult job.
Yeah.
But it's happening. It's going to happen. I mean, people throw billions at this. Because we know it will work. So the next step will be the glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think once we get to this phase, I reckon VR, AR, XR in general will be more ubiquitous.
I feel that there'll come a time when we'll look back at the head-mounted displays that we have now, like we look back at the old monitors.
Yeah.
You know, the big monitors we used to have, the computer monitors. We'll look back and think, God, they sound, wow.
They look like that. They look like that.
And still newspapers will be using those generic images. You've seen the generic image where they've got the headset on there. Every new...
100%. I believe in 20 days, something like this, because we do have AI that's helping the development. People don't realize this, that all this technology is actually interconnected, right?
Yeah.
So you have AI helping these huge companies solve these problems, because obviously there are some problems that it would take us 1 year to solve, but then you feed the data about all the techniques that's been made until today to AI, and you say, solve me this problem. How can we fit a smaller nano chip into this glasses for it to work? And it will probably give you a very good answer, and they will do experiment a lot quicker, just like you said about reducing the course to lessons. It's the same thing. So AI is going crazy, so we know it's going to help for sure with the development of Excel.
One quick one on AI, the very low down version for anybody who's listening, and I hope there's some listening who haven't even tried GPT yet. So I hope so. So I want to tell you my experience was there's this technical aspect in welding called you've got welding wire. So when you pull the trigger on a welding gun, the wire comes out. Okay, it's mainly steel covered in copper. Blah 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 blah. But one of the things that I have to teach is there's chemicals added to this welding wire called deoxidants, which just basically help you weld. It helps you weld through various mill scale or oil or whatever it is that's on the steel helps you. That's the short version. I've been teaching it for have been teaching it 3 years, and it's the best way. Everybody thinks they're the best teacher in the world. I do, okay, but this is the best way that I can possibly convey this to my students. And then 2 years ago, or whenever it was 18 months, and I thought, the students are doing okay on this. Some of them still struggling to quite grasp it. Why don't I just put into what are the oxidants to GPT, and the answer come out. I looked at it hard, and I thought, that is a better explanation than I have ever given ever. Now, I'm a human. I think I'm brilliant. I've got all these resources to choose from. What I've just read there blows it out of the water. And I just thought that, it was wonderful, but in simplistic terms as well. Actually, I know this is obvious. Actually explained it, and I thought this is it. This is so
So from now on, just hand in that note. Here you go.
Yes. That's all you need to know. Exactly. But it is. It just say, and it gives what we have back to again. Do you want to work harder or do you want to work smarter? That's the question. Yes, please. Yeah.
As human race, we have to work smarter. I mean,
yes. Yes.
And productive. More productive.
Of course.
And then that combined, multiply effect It's going to help you, help society, help everyone. I mean,
Brilliant.
what do you want to work smart? Anyways, thank you so much, Greg. It's getting late, so I don't want to hold you for too long. Thank you so much for coming on to the Proto Experience podcast. I hope everyone has learned a lot from you, and I hope we can have second rounds and hopefully to meet you in person as well, so that I can see firsthand what how you actually do the class. I mean, that would be great. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure, and you're always welcome at Riverside College whenever you're in the UK.